What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, and we're reacting to that awful New York Giants loss to the Philadelphia Eagles that just unfolded. And before we dive into the game and discuss it, I'm going to go ahead and say prayers to Skattebo. That was a gruesome injury. Skattebo is my favorite player on the New York Giants. I am heartbroken right now. My heart really does go out to him. I feel so terrible. Kid plays with all heart, all passion, all the time. This is just one of those guys who plays the game of football the right way. This is the worst thing that you can see in a game. Injuries suck, man, and I really feel bad for him. So prayers to Skattebo. The New York Giants now, of course, 2-6, coming off of this really bad divisional loss on the road against Philadelphia. Where do we go from here? Well, that's what we'll go ahead and discuss, but just wanted to get that out of the way first and foremost. Skattebo did have a dislocated ankle, but he's undergoing further evaluation to find out whether or not there is a fracture. There is some belief from some doctors online that there might be a fracture, but we will wait for official word from the team and see how that goes. But one last thing that I'll say on it before I let you touch on it too, Alex. This is just the beginning of Skattebo's career. He will return. This kid is, like I said, the most passionate player that you're going to find. He is going to use this moment to drive him to be even better in the future. And I know that's the truth. And I'm really excited for the return of Skattebo in 2026 because it will be legendary. It's going to suck to have to watch the rest of the season without Skattebo on the field for sure. But next year, we'll have a healthier team, a better team, and a fully healthy Skattebo will run through walls that season. So I can't wait for that. His return is going to be legendary. But in the meantime, just my thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family as well, and of course, his teammates.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I saw it live. I was clipping the game and I saw his ankle. And in classic Skattebo fashion, he asks for help up. And I'm like, this is the type of guy he is. You know, he wants to get back up and get back in the game. He doesn't care if his ankle's right, left, backwards. You know, he's a fighter. So I think that you're right. He will come back from this. And, you know, we'll see the severity of the injury. If it's fractured, bone heals better than ligaments. So I think he'll be 100% back next season. I think his season is probably over, most likely. Even if it's just dislocated, you're talking about anywhere from 10 to 15 weeks he'd be out. So, you know, either way, it's Tyrone Tracy's backfield now once again, and the Giants look to 2026 to say we'll get Skattebo back and we'll get Malik Nabers back. Nabers is going to have surgery this week as well. So the Giants are down to the bare bones. They're down to the 7th round picks that they're bringing back from the Jets and Corey Black, who got mossed by Jahan Dotson at the end of this game. I mean, listen, there's a lot to kind of go through. We're going to have an open conversation here because what we just kind of witnessed was it was bad all around. The Giants did not play well, but that was one of the worst refereed games. And I think I want to start there, Anthony. This was one of the worst refereed games I've seen in my life. This was one of those games that you think to yourself, is the NFL rigged? Because this doesn't make sense. The tush push was just the start of it. It was just the opening whistle of blasphemous calls that the referees had against the Giants today. Just straight up cheating is what it felt like. That's what it just straight up felt like, cheating. We're talking about a tush push. It might as well have been a running back, right? Not on the goal line, but just going for a first down, who was, you know, when you talk about momentum, forward progress, usually that indicates a player that was making forward progress and then is getting pushed backwards, right? They stopped their forward progress and they're moving backwards. Jalen Hurts was still moving forward when he fumbled the ball, and the whistle came after the fumble. This was one of the most egregious calls I've seen in my lifetime. This is one of those calls that we'll look back on and probably is the reason the tush push gets canceled, gets taken out of the game. And at this point, it needs to be. There's too many problems with this play. There's false starts almost every single time from the offensive side. No other team is really running this play except for the Eagles. They know they're not going to get called. They're getting the benefit of the doubt. They're getting early and late whistles to their advantage. I don't really understand where this is coming from, and the trickle-down effect of that play, right? Immediately after that play doesn't get called, next drive, Skattebo, you know, fractures or dislocates his ankle. Just trickle-down effects of bad things happening to the Giants. You know, Anthony, I know you're equally as confused and just kind of hurt by this as I am. That was a moment that, you know, the NFL should be getting a couple calls from the Giants about this game entirely.
100%. I mean, what we saw today was a refereeing disaster class. It was such a slanted game in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. There were so many calls that favored Philadelphia in this game. Of course, you mentioned the tush push. That's the obvious one, but there were other calls. But that tush push play, Alex, you said it perfectly. Jalen Hurts was still moving forward. Forward progress, calling the play dead, is when the player starts moving backwards. He was still moving forward. And when you watch the replay of the game, the ball comes out and then there's a whistle. So why, when it was challenged, was it not overturned? Because he wasn't even called down by forward progress before the ball came out. It was very suspect. It was very annoying. And it was just a downright awful refereed game by this crew. So I don't know. The NFL needs to look into that. It needs to be better. And when you are giving a team such an advantage like this, when they're already playing with this advantage with this stupid tush push play that, you're right, should be banned. It shouldn't be in football. It's not a football play. It's a rugby play. It takes advantage of a loophole in the rules. That's what the Eagles are doing. They've been cheating with this play. They're continuing to cheat with this play, and now the refs are helping them cheat with this play, and they've been continuously doing that with the missed false starts, and now here with the fumble that wasn't a fumble. It's just ridiculous, and I can't take it anymore. It just feels like favoritism, and it feels like the Giants are always the team that just gets stepped on and walked over, and just dogged for BS reasons to give other teams wins. So it's frustrating. I can't stand what I saw from the referees today, and the NFL needs to answer for it and improve it.
Yeah, I mean, have you noticed that no other teams run the play? They basically have outlawed the play internally, like almost like an unwritten code. Nobody's using this play. Nobody runs it except for the Eagles. It's legal apparently, but nobody runs it except for the Eagles, which is a pretty clear indication that players, teams across the NFL have told each other, we're not going to do this. We're not going to run this play. We all acknowledge it's dirty, it's cheating, it's the owner's decision to make that choice, but the Eagles continue to do it. Why? Because they're a dirty fucking football team, excuse my language. And the fact of the matter is, what we saw from the referees today, that tush push, that fumble, and great play by Kayvon Thibodeau, by the way, all the credit to him for that
Excellent.
moment. That was just the tip of the iceberg. That was just the start of a cascading events of poor refereeing, and the ones that come immediately to mind. A ghost block in the back by Wan'Dale Robinson on a defender that was already diving at the knees of Tyrone Tracy. That one doesn't make sense to me. You talk about the offensive pass interference against Darius Slayton late in that game that could have sparked something, some sort of momentum, some sort of, attempt at a comeback. Hand fighting, 50-50. But then the drive before, Corey Black gets called for a defensive pass interference when it's equal hand fighting. I don't really understand the favoritism here. It doesn't make sense.
And on that play to the wiped away Slayton touchdown, it wasn't even just hand fighting. If you watch the replay, the cornerback was holding onto his jersey. His undershirt was literally being torn off of his body on that play. If anything, it should have been defensive pass interference. Yes, maybe he pushed a little bit, but he didn't make full extension. The elbows did not fully extend. They only halfway extended, which is usually allowed and should have been in that instance. It was a perfect throw from Jackson Dart as well. I want to give him credit for that too.
Great
and
throw.
I do want to throw in some of these positives. Brian Burns, still a problem, absolute monster. Give him the Defensive Player of the Year trophy. Although Myles Garrett had a lot to say about that today, but Brian Burns, absolute monster. Thibodeau with that great play, like you said, wiped away by a penalty, BS, or not a penalty, whatever it was. Absolute BS, but great play by Thibodeau. The defensive line still has a lot of talent on it. That's evident. And Jackson Dart is a very talented football player. He made some throws today, Alex, that were just next level. Yes, he missed a few. The deep ball to Devin Singletary, if he sets his feet, he gets a little bit more air underneath that thing. Could have been a walk-in touchdown. Still a big play nonetheless. But there were other plays where pocket breaks down. Okay, he's rolling all the way right. Now he's rolling all the way left just to make a 6-yard completion. I mean, the ball's on this kid to stand in there, take these hits, extend these plays. He is such a playmaker off script, and these are all telltale signs of a good quarterback with long-term potential. So I love what we've seen from Jackson Dart through now 5 starts. I wish he was picking up more wins, but it's only so much that one player can do. This is a team sport, and right now he's playing on a bad football team. But the New York Giants, they have something brewing that's special at the quarterback position. And even though this was a devastating loss for the New York Giants, it probably ends their season. We lose Skattebo. This sucks. Positively speaking, I do walk away from it saying Jackson Dart is our quarterback. I think that he flashed enough in this game. He flashed enough in the last game. He's flashed enough in every game that he's been in. That makes me feel really confident that the Giants do have their franchise quarterback. So if I'm pulling positives from a really ugly game, Jackson Dart is certainly one of those positives.
I mean, what he does off script is special. it's a special attribute, and it's not one that many quarterbacks in the NFL have. The best guys in football have it. Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Burrow. Like these guys, even Burrow's more of just like a accurate, everything he touches, turns to gold. But injury prone at this point in his career, he has a trait that not many players have. And there's still a lot left for him to develop. I think that sometimes he misses some easy reads. He's looking for the home run sometimes. There was a couple plays I thought, there's work to be done. He missed a couple deep balls. But for the most part, he has all of the fundamentals you want for a foundational franchise quarterback. The rest of it can be ironed out. I think he's going to go into next year, right? Pissed off. I lost this season. I felt like a loser this season. I don't want to feel like that again. And let's be quite honest here. He's going to win regardless if Brian Daboll is here, if Joe Schoen is here, if this guy, if Shea Tierney is here. He is going to be competitive no matter what. I think Cam Skattebo getting hurt today, he was more emotional over that than he would be of Brian Daboll getting fired. That's honestly, you saw Jackson Dart, his whole demeanor changed. And even though that happened, you could tell he was feeling emotional about it. You could tell. You saw it all over the field, and you saw it on the sideline too. He still went out there and competed, right? He still went out there and gave his guys opportunities. And if not for some questionable play calling at times, I hate 3rd and 10 tight end screens. I don't understand it. But aside from that, there were some blatant malpractice moments from his playmakers. A dart, an absolute and Tom Brady was saying it all game. This guy Dart has something special. Like, he is special. He had a pitch perfect throw to Theo Johnson at the end of that second half that should have been a first down and right inside the 10-yard line. Johnson just straight up dropped, just like in the breadbasket, just straight up dropped it. And then you have moments where Darius Slayton is on a slant route and he just picks his head up and is avoiding contact when he needs to catch the ball. You know what I mean? You're being paid $36 million. I don't care if you're about to take a hit. Do something for your quarterback. Make a play for your quarterback. Do something. You're a receiver. You're not, picking Delilahs in the fields, brother. You need to be a tough son of a gun out there. You need to be, really doing everything you can to support your young quarterback. He's trying to fight and get this team back in the game. And instead, you're out there just running routes. And he had that one big moment at the end of the game, and I'll give Slayton credit. He had a great play, and there was a bullshit call. But the rest of the game, he was a ghost. I think the Giants are really bad at getting Wan'Dale Robinson involved at times. I thought he was extremely underutilized today. Every time he touched the ball, good things happened. And he didn't touch the ball until the second half. No screens to him in the first half. The first screen they had him was a 7-8 yard gain. You know what I mean? I think there's vast improvements they could experience from better coaching, better play calling. I think Mike Kafka does some things well, but he's mainly underutilizing some actual talent. Wan'Dale's one of the few pieces we actually have that can do things, and he disappears at times because they're not giving him the ball. There's no designs for him. It's really bad, and I think the coaching is holding this team back, and it will continue to hold this team back. And I hope that John Mara recognizes that this house needs to be sparkling fucking clean when this season comes to an end.
I like that. That was a bar. But I'm with you. I think the coaching, I've been saying this, Jackson Dart's really good. He's a great quarterback. A lot of great coaches are going to want to work with this great young quarterback. The Giants are not going to have a tough time finding a replacement for Brian Daboll, and they will not have a tough time upgrading over Brian Daboll because he is a bad coach, and the staff is a really bad coaching staff. And honestly, Alex, you kind of ripped into the offensive side of the ball there in terms of some of the coaching issues. How about go into the defensive side of the ball?
Don't even get me freaking started.
3rd and 21, and they hand it off to the backup running back who scampers. Yeah, Tank Bigsby's picking up 3rd and 21. I mean, come on now.
Dude,
what the Giants
Deontay
have
Banks
defensively.
Off of my football team. He
Banks
does
is
not
bad.
try. He
doesn't
even try.
He's got no effort. But listen, dude, this defense has talent in the trenches. This is a talented defensive line, and it's not allowed to show up because of how bad Shane Bowen is at his job. It's genuinely infuriating. We're talking about guys like Brian Burns, who's up to double-digit sacks this season. That's incredible. Good for him and good for the Giants. Well, it would be good for the Giants if they had a defensive coordinator worth a damn that could figure out how to maximize a 10-sack pass rusher. It's unbelievable to me that they have all of that talent in defensive line, and Shane Bowen just looks like he doesn't know what to do with it. They can't stop the run. The reason why they hired Shane Bowen in the first place was because during his time at Tennessee, the Titans had a really good run defense. Ever since Shane Bowen has gotten here, the New York Giants have been consistently thrashing trashed on the ground game in and game out. They can't stop the run for shit. It is embarrassing. Whether you want to talk about that 3rd and 21 and they pick it up, whether you want to talk about just every single game this season. Yeah, Saquon 65-yard rushing touchdown 14 seconds into the fucking game. It's embarrassing. They can't stop the run. They don't cover well in pass coverage either. The only thing they do is get after the quarterback well at times. And it's not even because the defensive coordinators send in any clever blitzes or doing anything like that. It's just because they have a lot of talent invested into the defensive line. He's just holding back the defense. So we're talking about the offense. They're being held back by the coaching staff. We're talking about the defense. It's being held back by the coaching staff. This entire team is just being held back by the coaching staff. I still believe, Alex, that this is a talented football team. This is a team that with a better staff, I honestly think could have won 7 games this season. Now I think we're staring at another maximum 5 wins, especially with all these injuries piling up. It's just tough. It's really tough. I don't know how we're going to sit through the rest of the season watching this, unless, we have some sort of hope that there is going to be change at the end of the year, because realistically, there should have been change at the end of this past season. Maybe in the long run, it's a good thing that there wasn't, because Jackson Dart is on this football team as a result of them not making changes this past offseason. So in the long run, it might work out, but this upcoming offseason is a crucial one. You need to get this right. You need to build a good team around this rookie quarterback going into his 2nd year, maximizing that rookie contract. The Giants cannot mess this up. They have to figure out what they need in terms of coaching, in terms of front office personnel, and they do need an overhaul. They absolutely need to overhaul the way that this team operates and runs. I think that becomes more apparent with every single loss that the New York Giants sustain this season. Yeah, I know that they played against 2 opponents today. They played against a really good Eagles team, and they played against the refs. That is the fact of the matter. But at the same time, they had mistakes that beat themselves, and they had a football team out there that didn't look like they knew what their game plan was. That's my reading of it. They just didn't look like they were on the same page at any point throughout this game. I know that a lot of them were disheartened, especially going into the second half after Cam Skattebo suffered his injury. I don't blame them. I would have been disheartened too. But Jackson Dart still went out there and was ripping piss missiles through double coverage perfectly into the hands of his tight ends and receivers, and they were dropping the ball anyway. So it just looks like a team that no longer has that confidence. It feels like they've lost that spark. And once this happens, Alex, once that team does lose that spark and that energy and that confidence, and then they turn on the locker room turns on the coaching staff, that's usually what happens a couple weeks later. That's when John Mara is going to have to do something about it. So I don't think we are very far away from going down this very slippery slope and seeing some massive changes take place for the New York Giants in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. Teams running down our throat, and the defense once again getting walked over. And with having such an elite pass rush and it's still happening, I mean, it's Shane Bowen's gone. Like, he's dead to rights. We already know this. They just can't fire him because they have nobody else. Like, there's no one else that can step up and do that job. They have no experience there. So that's the problem. Here lies another issue I have with Bowen, is that he doesn't know how to coach his players to play specific players, if that makes sense. Like, I'll give you an example. When you're playing Saquon Barkley, you know he loves to bounce it outside. You know he loves to bounce. He very rarely cuts to the middle of the field. He mostly cuts to the outside. But if you're a safety and that gap opens up, Saquon Barkley's fast, but he's not the fastest running back in the world. Tyler Nubin is just the slowest fucking safety I've seen on earth. So there's a difference there. But if you're a safety and you see that gap open up, you need to be firing downhill to stop and slow down Saquon Barkley so other guys can catch up. Instead, I watched multiple times where I think it was Dane Belton once, and it was Nubin on the first play of the game, flat-footed, waiting for Saquon to come to him, as if he's going to somehow, make a play on Saquon Barkley bouncing it to the outside, knowing that his speed is not his strength. If you are Tyler Nubin, you need to be crashing down into the box as a missile when you have space as your advantage. When he only has a small lane, you need to be crashing down. Instead, he's flat-footed, he's waiting to react until Saquon makes a decision. And the second Saquon makes a decision, he's off to the races. To me, this is coaching problems. These are fundamental problems, right? Tyler Nubin is not going to beat Saquon Barkley in a foot race, and he's not going to beat him in a reaction race. You need to be aggressive. And I think that Shane Bowen coaches his team not to focus on specific players. Like, this guy is going to beat you. That guy is going to beat... They didn't have A.J. Brown today. It was Saquon Barkley's show. Everyone knew it. But they didn't play him like Saquon Barkley. They played him like a much lesser player. And I think that they don't really adjust their game. They don't have a real plan at times. I think we have individuals who are rising to the occasion and making moments happen. And by the way, if you're one of those people that looks at sack totals and says, Abdul Carter's not doing a lot, you, my friend, are an idiot. Because Abdul Carter wreaked havoc that entire game. He was responsible for both of Brian Burns' sacks, for helping to flush Jalen Hurts out of the pocket, make him turn around, do all sorts of things. Abdul Carter had a really good game today. It won't show up on the stats, but he had multiple pressures. He forced Hurts to drop his eyes and let the other guys clean it up. Problem is, as you said, Anthony, before, the Giants can't stop the run, and they can't actually get into passing down situations where their pass rush can be the primary winning variable, right? They're in like first, second and short, and third and short so often. They're not like teams don't have to pass that much against us, which is our strength. I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis next offseason. I mean, aside from offensive playmakers that we need so desperately, draft, free agency, whatever that might look like, trades, I don't know. They need so much help on the offensive side to build around Jackson Dart. Getting Neighbors back, Skattebo. They should retain Jermaine Illuminor, who looked fantastic today. They need a right guard. Greg Van Roten got waxed all day long today in the trenches. They need to invest heavily in this offense. But one thing is critical. They need another. Well, I think they should extend Micah McFadden. I think that will be a big solution for their run defense. And I think that just Carter getting a second season, like Kayvon, obviously he's under contract next year as well. Like they should get better. But partially why I was okay with trading a second round pick for a controllable receiver, Anthony, is because Joe Shane's second round picks are a fucking graveyard. Right? Newbin looks horrific. He doesn't even look like a starting safety in the NFL this season. John Michael Schmitz has been bad for 4 straight years. He had an okay game at times this season, but he hasn't been like that second round value, right? I mean, even look at some of our first round picks. Deontay Banks, Evan Neal's been a healthy scratch every year. Jalen Hyatt was a healthy scratch today. Didn't suit up. Joe Shane cannot be given credit for layups like Malik Neighbors and Abdul Carter, guys that are going to be great. His mid to late round picks have mostly been horrible. I'll give him some credit for guys like Cordell Flott and select few others. Skattebo, obviously, but again, Skattebo, like Anthony, you and I pointed that out last draft. He was going to be a monster. Just someone had to pick him. You really shouldn't get credit for layups, in my opinion. But yeah, like I do think that at this point, I'm sorry for the long kind of spiel here, but I'm frustrated, and I feel like this team is poorly coached. It's poorly managed at times, and the referee screwing us doesn't help either. And I'm not blaming, like it was a full, like they probably would have lost even if the refs didn't screw us today. Most likely, that's the God honest truth. But there's a difference between losing the way we did and losing being competitive, and I think that sucked the life out of us today.
Sucked the life out of me, that's for sure. I mean, just watching Skattebo get hurt absolutely did that. That was brutal. The whole loss was brutal. You're right. You make a lot of excellent points there about Joe Shane, the roster construction, the operation of this team from a coaching standpoint. This is a bad football team, and they're bad in many different ways. But I do think that they have talent on the roster that's just not being maximized. That's really what it comes down to for me. And that's why I just want to clean house and restart with the core pieces still in place, like Jackson Dart, like Cam Skattebo returning from injury next year, Malik Neighbors as well. And last couple things that I'm going to say here, Alex, before we wrap up. I'm just going to speak on Cam Skattebo once again here. I just want to highlight the touchdown that he scored today. He is a player that has elite potential. I don't, the injury is going to take away from that a little bit because people are obviously going to be upset about it. And, it's a really difficult thing to navigate. What's his future going to look like? How's he going to recover from this? It looked like a really gruesome injury. But here's the thing. Skattebo is going to work hard. He's going to get healthy, and he's going to be back. And if you watch the touchdown that he scored today, the route that he put on that linebacker was incredible. He truly is a special player, and he has a drive to be a special player, which is why I know he's going to return harder than he came before in 2026. So I love Skattebo. That touchdown was awesome. It was a fantastic route. It was a veteran savvy route. Even Tom Brady had a lot of praise for it on the broadcast today. The way that he slipped past that linebacker, put that linebacker on the ground and caught that touchdown was incredible. And then the last thing that I got to say here, Alex, about Cam Skattebo, the play where he got injured, Zach Bond, you're a filthy piece of shit. That was a clear and obvious hip drop tackle. I don't understand why the NFL decided to make the hip drop tackle a penalty when they never fucking enforce it. I don't think I've ever seen one hip drop tackle, Alex, get called as a penalty. But I see them every fucking week, especially from linebackers over the middle of the field dropping down on wide receivers and running backs who are running routes. They do it all the time, and the NFL never has the officials throw the flags. It is infuriating, and it encourages players to get away with it because they always do, so they do it more, and then it causes injuries. If they wanted the hip drop tackle to be taken out of the game, then they need the penalty that they put in place to take it out of the game to be enforced. And they don't enforce it, so you get plays like this. And also, just from the individual player standpoint, most of the players do not hip drop tackle each other because they don't want to injure each other. But some of those select players don't really care about that, and so they do the hip drop tackle anyway. And that's what you saw. There was a hip drop tackle, textbook hip drop tackle from a scumbag linebacker on the Philadelphia Eagles. I fucking hate Philly. I hate that team. I hate whenever we got to watch the Giants play there and dealing with their annoying ass fan base and how dirty they are and how dirty their players play. It's just disgusting. So I'm pissed off about that. Like I said, prayers up for Skattebo. My heart goes out to him. But I got to get that off my chest, Alex. I am pissed off about the fact that he was injured on, to me, a dirty fucking play.
Yeah, I mean, they're a dirty team. I watched Jalen Carter spit in Dak Prescott's face 5 weeks ago. Like, what else do you need to see? The refs, but it's also the refs. Like, that was just egregious levels of disaster. There was no fairness in that game. Not a single ounce of it. And there's going to be no real investigation here, right? But why? Like, what is the benefit, right? If you're Brad Rogers, who probably has an underground FanDuel account, why exactly are you making calls so one-sided? Why is that such a one-sided game? What do you have to win or lose from that, right? There was multiple calls in that game that were game-changing moments and really bad calls, like ones that happened, like things that happened. For example, the ghost block on the back from Wandale. A couple plays later, I watched Abdul Carter straight up get pushed in the back and no call. It just wasn't even across the board. Is this an NFL script thing? Is this, I don't know. I really don't. I have no answers for you. But one thing I do know is that was intentionally not done well. That felt intentionally cheating, intentionally screwing that game for the Giants. Because it happened multiple times. It wasn't one and done. It wasn't like, the tush push. Okay, you know what? Like, it was a bad call. We get it. We can move past. It happened 4 or 5 times. Those types of things, you do it once. Okay, human error. Okay, 4 or 5. That's not human error anymore. That's bullshit. That is straight up script. Whatever. I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but this game might have turned me into one because I don't really believe what I just witnessed. And the depth on this team, Corey Black, Lord have mercy, goes to the Jets. We bring him back, and he's starting already. Why is Art Green not here? Art Green had a good summer. I don't know why he wasn't playing. Like, I don't really know what some of these guys are doing. I mean, I also really have a lot of resentment for some of the vets on this team, and not some of them. Like, guys like Slayton really is the one I point to the most because you're a vet on this roster. People look up to you. You're borderline captain. These are things that have a lot of stock. A lot of these young players look to you to make plays and do things for your club. Slayton avoided contact today on a slant route. Those are inexcusable things. Deonte Banks is getting reps out there and not playing like he's in the NFL. Like, he's avoiding tackles. He doesn't defend the run. He hangs in the back of running plays. Tank Bigsby trucked like 4 people at the end of the game, and Deonte Banks was hanging out back there, just kind of like riding the linebacker's shoulders. But the Giants don't have consequences for this, right? They're trying to put the best football players out there that have the best top. I mean, I watched Devonta Smith catch a pass on a comeback route, and Deonte Banks was 10 yards away from him. And he was the guy that was guarding him. Like, I don't really give a shit who's playing cornerback. The season's over, guys. Like, let's make that very clear. This season is done. We're now in it for developing young talent and seeing what Jackson Dart does. But at this point, you have to set a standard. You cannot run players out there that are going to be lacking effort, not just to the layman, but on film in the room. When they're watching the film as a team, and you're watching these guys, Banks specifically, Slayton avoiding contact, not exert maximum effort, not try to lay your body on the line to make a play, that is infectious loser mentality. That's infectious loser mentality, right? Tom Brady said it on the cast, man. He was like, losing is a mindset. The Giants have a couple players that are fucking losers. Losers. And they play like it. Deontay Banks is a loser. And I'm not blaming him entirely because I think the Giants let him down severely last season when they pigeonholed him, they benched him, the players went after him. He needs to be traded because he's never going to play hard here. He's never going to play for Brian Daboll. Right? He's never going to play for Brian Daboll. He's never going to play for this coaching staff because they've ruined every ounce of trust they have in him and he had in them. They've ruined it. And that is what I'm scared for with Jackson Dart, Anthony, why I think Joshi needs to go, Daboll needs to go, Caffey needs to go, Shane Bowen needs to go, and I'll end it. I'll have my take on this. The reason they need to go is because they were really good at extinguishing the spark young players have. The flashes we saw from Deontay Banks, what we're seeing from Jackson Dart right now, those flashes of talent, those real kind of opportunities to develop and mold something special, they are really damn good at extinguishing it, really damn good at burying it underneath bad coaching and bad decision making and losing mentality. They're really good at making people feel like losers. That's why they have to go. Among many other reasons, they destroy talent. And you cannot have guys who destroy talent. And you finally have a fucking quarterback. John Mara, you cannot let these guys ruin him. Because they will. They will ruin him. And I have no doubt about it. So that's where I'll end this. That's where I'll leave it be. These guys are dead men walking. They know it. We know it. We just have to wait it out.
Waiting it out is not going to be easy. This is going to be a long, hard wait for the rest of the season, but when the day comes that they finally do make these changes, I will be happy, and I will have hope for the future on that day. But for now, it's going to be a struggle, that's for sure. I'm just watching the rest of the season for Jackson Dart, man. I want to see him make some plays. I hope that the Giants find a way to help him some more, because they're not helping him clearly, not enough. But hopefully, going forward, they can give him some more help, and maybe the New York Giants can find a way to just pick up a couple wins for the morale of the team, I suppose, because right now I just don't think this is a team that can actually be fully competitive. It's unfortunate as it may be, but it is what it is. We are back at square one like we were this time last year. I think we made a video very similar to this one last year, starting to call for jobs. So we'll keep you guys posted and updated. Of course, anything that we hear for Cam Skattebo, once again, prayers up for Scat. Love the kid. Can't wait to watch him play again. Really devastated we don't get to watch him for the rest of the season. But do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring bell so you don't miss an episode. And definitely comment your thoughts and drop your rants down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Jackson Dart.